What's going on, everybody? This is Al from PlaybookGamer.com, and today we're going to look at the Oregon spread playbook in college football 25. Now, it seems like it's been 2 decades since Oregon has run some type of spread offense, ever since Chip Kelly got there back in the 2000s, and they've been rocking and rolling, putting up tons of points and yards along the way. And this playbook is no different. It's got some really cool stuff in it. We're going to try to break it all down. Now, I like to go through all the formations, the concepts, play types, personnel. This gives you a good idea of what the most popular concepts and different types of plays are in this playbook. And then we're also going to look at some trends along the way, and we'll break down a few plays as well. So let's start off in the formation screen. Most people call plays from here. There are 4 main formation types. You got gun, pistol, I formation, and then wildcat. When it comes to pistol, there's only 1 formation in here. Now, you can use this, and there's 15 plays in it. You can use it if we cover some of the concepts that I'm going to talk about. I mean, you can use any of these plays that you want, but we're going to talk about flood and RPO, zone, things of that nature. So kind of keep that in mind. It's a good one to sprinkle in if you really, especially want to like a downhill run game. Then you got I formation tight. If you are not a fan of the goal line formation in this playbook, then you can use I tight for those situations, short yardage, things like that. Then you got 2 wildcat formation, 12 plays total, 6 in each one. And again, really no different than the pistol formation we just looked at. Some of the more popular concepts in this playbook will be in here, so kind of keep that in mind, like we'll cover read option, things of that nature. So this is another one just to kind of sprinkle in if you want to go with that. But the bulk of your offense is going to be in the shotgun formation. So let's go here. Now, you need to pay attention to personnel groupings and things of that nature. We're going to kind of go through some of the trends here as well. So starting off, split slot open. This is a 20 personnel set, 20 meaning 2 running backs and 0 tight ends presently on the field. Now, yes, you can use sub packages. You can move guys around, but by default, I kind of like to pay attention to that because sometimes you just don't want to spend a lot of time moving your sub packages around. So you got a 20 personnel set here. Then you got a 13 personnel set, wing tight Z, 3 tight ends on the field. If you got the tight ends that can handle them, and if you want a nice shotgun alternative for short yardage, you may want to think about using some of this right here. Then you got U off trips. Anytime you see the letter U, that means that is another tight end on the field. And in this case, he is off the line, as you can tell right there. And then we're going to get into our 11 personnel formations. There are a bunch of these. It's the most popular personnel group in football, and you're going to get a whole lot of it in here. So normal, Y off close. So Y off close means Y is off the line, and Y is usually your number 1 tight end. So pay attention to your number 1 tight end, who is number 3, as we go through the rest of these formations. Then you got Y off trips. Again, he's off the line. Then you got wing trips weak, off the line again. Then you have trips tight end offset weak. Then you got trio Y flex, and notice how many plays are in a lot of these. 18. I mean, really solid stuff. Then you look at bunch strong offset. Then you have bunch open offset if you want more of a spread look. Then you got bunch quads offset. I love the quads. I love putting pressure on a defense, force them to one side. Then you got double stack. Yes, this looks like a 4 wide set, but technically it is not. Where's number 3? He's over on the right side. So technically it's 11 personnel set. Now I'm sure there is a 4 wide receiver sub package in here if you want to treat it as such. Then you got spread Y slot. So number 3, our tight end, is in the slot. Then you got trips, classic trips. He is not out there by default, so this is technically a 10 personnel set, 4 wide receivers. Then you have trips halfback weak, same thing, 4 wide receiver look. Empty bunch wide. Technically, this is an 11 personnel set. So who's our number 1 halfback? That is 20. Who's our number 1 tight end? Number 3. Both of them are out there. A really cool alternative if you really want to spread things out, go empty, but you like to have your 11 base on the field. Then you have empty base trio. Where's number 3 and 20? Both of them are on the right side. Again, by default, 11 personnel, even though it looks 5 wide. So that is it for your formations from the gun. So you have a good idea of what is in here. Now, kind of pay attention also to the way the halfback is settled. So like in this formation, number 20 is directly to the left of the quarterback side by side. But notice there's a good chunk of these formations where he is offset. In this example right here, he's just to the right hip of the quarterback. So whenever you see these offset formations, you're going to have a better chance to get downhill in your run game if you like the inside zone type stuff. It's just a tad bit easier to do inside zone compared if it was in this formation, if that makes sense. So keep on looking. See, here's you off trips. What's the halfback doing? Offset. Then he's beside him here. Then another offset. Then he's beside him to the left. Then look, offset again to the side. Offset, 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 offset. Now beside him, beside him, beside him, and then you get to your empty. So you got a nice mix of, if you like to go outside with your run game, you may want to do your run games from these types of formations where the halfback is beside the quarterback. But if you want to get downhill a little bit more, do more of the offset stuff. Okay, so now let's go over to personnel. We've talked about personnel at least a little bit, but let's just go over it again from this angle. I always like looking at it from here. So let's start off with your 22 personnel. So 2 running back, 2 tight ends. You notice that on the left. You only got 1. That's your I formation tight. Then you have clock management. We don't have to worry about that. Then you got split slot open. This is your lone 20 personnel formation in the entire playbook. Then you got the 113 personnel set, which again, I think it's cool. I think it's nice to have that in here. Then you have your 12 personnel set. You have a couple. You off trips and then quad or bunch quads offset. So that's nice to have. Again, you use sub packages if you want to switch that around. So that's really cool. But then the 11 personnel, all these right here, a bunch of them, okay? And then when it comes to your 10 personnel set, you got these 2 trips. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. Then you got your Wildcat and things of that nature. So when you go back, one other thing when it comes to your formation, just kind of notice, you got a little bit of mix of doubles and trips, setups over here. You know, when we looked at the Alabama playbook in the previous video, it was a lot of trip sets, but you got a nice mix in here. Yes, you got plenty of trips and whatnot, but I always liked, you know, the 2x2s, as you see right there, and whatnot. So again, you got a little bit of everything in terms of moving your players around. So we've looked at personnel, we've looked at formations. Let's talk about concepts and play types. Let's go up to the very top. So when it comes to concepts, look at your runs, and this gives you a great idea of the popular stuff that's in here. So starting off with the runs, you got 6 counters. You only got 4 draws, but you have 21 inside zones. This is the most popular run concept in the game. It's just your most basic, just hand the ball off, up the gut, more or less. And as you see, there are plenty of them right here. So let's go ahead and pick one. Very simple stuff. You just kind of find a crease up the middle. If you can, just a good plug up by the defense there. But this is basic handoff stuff. There's nothing really special about it, but you get whatever yards you can out of it. Okay, so next up we're going to look at is another very popular run concept. Starting off ISO, there's only 2 of these. You got 4 outside zones, and a couple of these are actually from the offset. You even got one from the pistol, but that outside zone from gun Y off trips is in there. But again, the bulk of your zone running, your basic handoffs is going to come from here. But let's talk about power. There are 14 of these, and I love having pulling linemen for me. So let me just go ahead and just pick something random here. You just got to be patient with the blocking. You got to have that pulling guard help you block right there. You can just get real nasty with it. Just depends if you are a gap schemer type runner, and I enjoy that stuff. So there's plenty of it in here. Again, 14 of those plays in this one. When it comes to sweep, there are 5. Technically, to me, that sounds like a little bit more than I expected, especially since the bulk of this playbook is shotgun stuff. So like you got pin, pull, and toss. Like let me just go ahead and pick this one for example, and we'll do a random. So just typical toss play from the gun. This is a nice little change up. If you can get something going out of it, that again, you can just complement your inside zone and your power with a toss. And then there are, again, 5 of them. Trap, I suggest you also include this as well. There's only 2 of them, but I love trap in this game. Very fun to work with. Let me go ahead and do a random. I think it's so beautiful watching the blocking up the gut. If you can find the creases like that, it's just really cool to see. And in past games, it's so hard to run up the gut a lot of times in these games. But in this one, it's pretty effective as long as the blocking is halfway decent. Again, your offensive line has to do their part. But trust me when I say I think you need to throw a little bit of this in here, even though there are only 2 of them in this playbook. But again, I just didn't really enjoy them. Now, there's only 1 reverse play, okay? But you can use it if you want to. When it comes to option, pay special attention to here. Look at all the option concepts we have in here. Most of it's RPO, that type of thing, but let's start off with inverted veer. You only have one. Then you have load option. Technically, it's speed option, and we'll talk about speed option here in a minute. Read option. This will probably be your go-to option concept in this playbook. There are 10 of them. Let's just go ahead and pick a random one. Let's go up against something different like that. Now, I'm having the hardest time. I don't know if anybody else has, but they flipped the button presses on here. Used to, if you wanted to hand the ball off to your halfback, you would hold down the X button. Now it's in reverse, and I just can't get a feel for it. Like, I struggle with it. I need to practice it more. But if you are pretty good with your basic read options where you're reading the backside, whoever, then yeah, use it by all means. But again, this is something I got to practice. But when it comes to this playbook, there is plenty of it in here for sure. I suggest you add it as long as you got a quarterback that can handle it. But again, there's 10 of them in this playbook. Speed option, only one. I love speed option in this game, but there's only one of them. Triple option, only one play in there. Zone option is in there. It's technically speed option in a sense. It's a little slower. RPOs. Okay, so we got 9 RPO reads. And a lot of these RPOs are a little bit different. The bulk of the RPO reads usually has like a backside post of some sort or a slant. The RPO peaks are kind of the same thing, and you're going to see some of these plays double up in some of these concept sections. Then you go to RPO alert, 19 of them. This is where I suggest if you want to run some RPOs, I suggest you start here. And like my favorite one's been so far is like these alert outs. So let me go ahead and select that. Let's just go ahead and pick something random. So what I always like to do is when my read is if the right cornerback is off 5 to 10 yards off that out route, I'll just make a quick throw to him. Otherwise, I look for the safeties. Right now, it's a one high safety. I probably won't run it. We only got 6 blockers up front, and they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in the box. So I'm not going to run it. And then you look on the right side or on the left. Is that bubble going to work? I don't know if that nickelback, I guess, who's over my triangle, my slot receiver, we don't really have the numbers there unless he blitzes. So again, it's up to you. But for me, the most familiar thing to do right here is just to go to this guy, and you can go pick up some decent yards there. We can do it again. Too high look, but we got a corner offset or off the out route. We also have a possibility on the left. So all this looks kind of good, but I still just may keep this one simple and just go over here. And that's just a good play by the defender. This one, we may try the bubble. That one looks pretty decent, but he didn't get a good block on it, but he got 4 yards out of it. Either way, I love RPO alerts. Those are the simplest ones for me, at least. Again, you just kind of read your corners and your too high safety looks and whatnot. So, but there's 19 of them in here. So kind of go through these. I suggest you start here if you want to throw some RPO in your offense. Quick pass. There are a few, not a whole lot of concepts in this one. You got 3 Omahas, 2 scats, 5 slants. Then you got 5 spacings, but then you got 8 sticks. So I suggest you kind of pick 1, maybe 2. You always need at least 1 quick pass game concept that you really hone in on. Stick is very simple and classic, and just typical air raid. Let me go here and just pick something random. Do something like this. Go to the tight end. Pick up some yards there. Again, I just pick one that you really like. I'm a big air raid guy, so I'm kind of used to just running a lot of stick and things of that nature. Go over here. Pick up a few yards there. You can also peek the go route. Looks like the cornerback's off of him, so I'm not going to bother there. We'll go back over here to the out route. And this will work a whole lot better if I was on the left hash. But either way, pick one that you like. There's just a little more stick than there are of slant and spacing. Let's go over to medium pass. Now, you kind of need to take some of this with a grain of salt when we're going through some of these. Like when you go over to like the choice concept, there's no choice whatsoever in that first one on the left. The gun you off trips, play action you corner flood. I don't see any choice of any kind right there. So again, but there are 17 choice ones. So pretty much any play that's got a choice route, like on the left here, gun trio, Y flex, shock H option is pretty good as well. Again, just kind of, if that's your thing, when it comes to option routes, they're hit and miss. It depends on the coverage, and I guess I'm assuming it's still the awareness of that player still understands that. At least that's how it was in 14. But anyway, there are 17 of those if that's your thing, but there's plenty of other concepts if you don't want to use this. 17 curls, so pretty much anytime you see a stopping route of some sort, they're going to call that put that in the curl concept. And again, there's quite a few of that. Most of these playbooks have plenty of curl. Double moves, there's only 3 of those. 4 drives, 1 levels, only 3 mesh. Now, I've actually went through a couple of playbooks where there's like a ton of mesh, but they didn't really list them here. So again, kind of take the concept area with a bit of grain of salt. Then you got Salem, there's 4 of those. Slot cross, there's only 4. Ton of smash. So they treat smash as pretty much any high-low read to one side. Shakes is a perfect example. You got a corner route with a flat underneath it. And I'm going to go ahead and just call something here. Let's just do a random. So what I like to do, for me, this is a mirrored concept. So you got the same concept on either side. So at this point, I'm thinking, where are the least amount of defenders? Well, they got a pretty even formation right here. So you kind of just go whichever side you want. But I'm looking at a pretty much a one high look. So I'm just probably going to go to the right on this one. Looks like my halfback is open over here, and you just pick up some easy yards. So the best thing I like about mirrored concept is you can pretty much just look at one side of the field. It just simplifies your reads. But there are plenty of smash in here, but they all look a little bit different. So example, like on the right side, gun trips, halfback weak, shuffle slot curls. Technically, that's a high-low read because you got that wheel route, and then you got the halfback on that little curl. So again, they treat that as smash. Good for them if that's what they think that is. But again, so when you think smash, just think high-low. So when it comes to spot, there's only 5 of those. And then you got 5 Texas concepts. And Texas is basically an angle route by your halfback. And I think there's a tight end one. Yeah, so vertical tight end cross. Look at the tight end. He's running basically that angle route. So let's look at some of the deep passes. There are a bunch of them, 106 according to this game. So let's start off with comeback. Anything that is a comeback is considered a curl, a hitch, a true comeback route like you would see from like gun split, slot open, backs cross. Now that deep comeback is incredible against man. I love it to death. Let's see if we can go up against a basic man here. Again, against man, if you got the time to throw it, go over here. It's just insane what you can do with that route. I love it to death, and there is plenty of that in this playbook, so I suggest this will be part of your passing game. Now, there's only 2 daggers, 7 divides, 5 double digs, double posts, or 6 of those. There are 26 flood concepts / plays in this playbook. You need to include this in your offense of some sort. Flood is very simple, just in terms of everybody pretty much goes to one side of the field and you just kind of read over there. Like, for example, we'll go with this play right here. It's just an incredible setup. So I can make a good play. That was a bad throw. My bad. But anyway, you look at one side of the field and you just kind of read it from there. You can read high and low. You can go to your tight end right here. He's going to make it decent blocking. Not bad. Just a good little play. But again, there's so much flood in this playbook. I highly suggest you throw it in there. There's just too much of it not to use. Now, we got plenty of verticals, 14 of those, but most of these playbooks have plenty of verticals. So again, you need to throw this in your scheme as well. You go to meals, there's 5 of those, only 1 Portland. Shot plays, this kind of goes with the vertical. So again, some of these plays will double up at times. You're going to see the same ones over and over depending on that play. 6 switches, if you were more of a run and shoot type of guy, there's a little bit in here, but not a lot. And there's only 2 wide crosses. Okay, now when it comes to play action, there's 2 types. You got 2 boots and you got only 3 slides. But if you notice, we had some other play actions earlier. So again, kind of take some of this with a grain of salt. But when it comes to screen pass, we got 15 bubble screens. But notice a lot of these are those RPOs that we saw earlier. So these are already going to be seen. Then you got 10 flankers / split end screens. I suggest you always throw in 1 or 2 screen concepts that you just really like and you're good with. And there's 2 wide receiver mid screens. And then you go over to play type, it's kind of the same thing, but just kind of organized differently. You go like with pass, quick pass, you got like your jet touch pass, things of that nature, 3 of those. You got 121 shotguns. So they threw every single shotgun pass play here. Then you got 40 play actions. And 14 of those screens, and the exact same 14 we just looked at. And of course, they got the 3 typical Hail Marys. You can look at your runs. Again, go through some of these. You got 40 inside handoffs, 5 outsides, only 5 pitches, 6 counters, 4 draws, fullback runs, only 2 of those. And there are 7 quarterback runs. Now, somebody asked me in a comment a couple of days ago, what's a good playbook that's got a lot of quarterback run game? And anytime it's labeled QB run, that means the quarterback is just designed to run it. It's not an option. It's just a basic him just running and trying to pick up whatever he can. And look, there is a bunch of them. I mean, 7 to me is a lot. for a playbook. So that's a nice little bonus to the playbook. You go over to option. They got all of them labeled as basic read option and speeds, and there's some of it in here. The bulk of it's going to be that read option though. But then you come over to the RPO. The RPO reads, you got 5 of those, 9 RPO peaks, and you got those 19 alerts. So they pretty much organize them the same way in the play type. All right, let's go back to formation. I want to point out a couple of things here. I'm going to start off with normal Y off close. There are 2 things I really want you to pay attention to. Starting off, notice these 3 plays right here. We'll look at the names. Shuffle halfback angle, shuffle switch corner, shuffle angle Y wheel. Shuffle means it's a pre-snap motion by your halfback that goes out. It's like a jet motion. If anybody watched the Miami Dolphins with what's his face, they like to do a lot of that with the receiver where he just kind of shoots out just a little bit and then they snap the ball. There is a lot of that in this playbook. I highly suggest you use this. This should be a staple of your passing game. And notice it's all just drop back passing, but you're given a little bit of a head start with your halfback. Sometimes it gives you a tail if they're going man or not. So you can come over here, go over the top. Maybe I can make a play. I almost got the catch. But anyway, there is so much of it in here. I highly suggest you use it. Just really good stuff. I'm going to go over here to the out route. That's an easy 4 yards right there. But go through some of these, a lot of these plays. Now, I will say this about these formations. If you go off, like right here, let's start off at the very top. Usually your 3 top plays in each formation kind of give you an idea of what the most important parts of the playbook is for that formation. So look at here, it's split slot open. Look at the 3 first plays. Shuffle flood X dig, shuffle angle Z spot, shuffle slot dig. You come over here, then you go over to normal Y off close. We just looked at these. Then you got this type of pre-snap motion. This is the wide receiver version of that, more or less. So you can come over here. So return, sprint, comeback. A lot of it is in this playbook. So you go over here. And once he makes his motion, he's wide open. And hopefully you can get good blocking and you can just pick up whatever yards you can. Really nasty stuff. So I think it's a good complement with your shuffle motion and your return motion by your receiver right here. Look at that, wide open again, just easy yardage. Can't go wrong with that stuff. And of course, it has that deep comeback we just talked about earlier out of that play. Okay, so you just got to go through all these formations and go find those. But there's plenty of it. So look at this. Look at the top 3 plays in trio Y flex. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. More of it. Then look at bunch strong offset. Look at this. Return, return, return. So we can go like this RPO. I think this is a pretty nasty one. Let's go return there. We'll select just a random one here. So it is circle, holding. Now you can use sub packages or formation subs. Maybe get your best wide receiver right there, or at least your fastest one. But this is an RPO. A bunch of dudes in the box. I'm probably just going to throw this over here, and hopefully you can break a tackle and you can get upfield and get some yards there. You may want to play that on the left hash just so you have more room to work with. Just things of that nature. But those are the 2 biggest things I wanted to point out were those 2 pre-snap motions. You keep on going here, double stack. There we go. Spread Y slot. What do we see? Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. You go to trips halfback weak. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Use that. This has to be the staple of your passing game, drop back at least. Again, so you're doing your play action off your RPOs, things of that nature, but I think your basic drop back passing, it has to be all this return and shuffle stuff. Why not? Especially on 1st and 2nd down, even on 3rd down, especially if there's some plays in here you just really like. And then you got your empties where it's not going to have those pre-snap motion. But so what do we talk about? We went through everything. Just start off with your concepts. What's the most popular stuff in here? It's going to be your inside zone. Then sprinkle in your halfback power. Then you throw in your RPOs. Then if you want to do a little play action off of that, you can do that. And then you go into your drop back passing, which we get into your shuffles. Then you get into your returns. Then if you need to get more vertical, especially like on your 3rd and longs, that's when you go to your verticals and you do those big old comebacks that we talked about earlier. So there's just a lot of great stuff in this playbook. Hopefully this video gives you an idea of what it's all about. A whole lot of fun you can have with this playbook, and I highly suggest you use it. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later.